And according to the director of National Intelligence superhero, James the Liar Clapper, we are in dire straits. Clapper stated that, quote, "Looking back over my more than half a century in intelligence, I have not experienced a time when we have been more beset by more crises and threats around the globe," end quote. Truly chilling stuff. Except that he's actually been saying generally the same thing for the last 5 years.
You know, Clapper just drives me nuts. I mean, you know, some of the quotes he had in this testimony was just...
You want to talk about fear-mongering.
The scourge and diversification of terrorism, both of the global jihadists and the homegrown variety. I mean, it's like he's reading for an action movie.
Which I find really funny. In 50 years of national intelligence working within the community, that you talk about the scourge, and you're talking about like the war in Syria, and saying that it is attracting a growing center of radical extremism. So my question to you is, how did you think that shipping more weapons and sending Tomahawk missiles in was going to make that better? Since it's a fact, there are report after report a mile high that our doing this in other places is exactly what led to the terrorist organizations that we see now.
Hi there, I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
We're in front of City Hall right now, and we're here to talk about the fear-mongering
and the fascism that's rising around the world.
It's crazy. Clapper there, NSA chief, and of course...
Actually, he's the director of National Intelligence.
National Intelligence, there's an oxymoron for you. Talking about morons, we're going to be talking about Stephen Harper coming up in a bit, but what we're talking about is some propaganda.
Well, you got to keep that fear button pushed as hard as you can. You know, it's kind of like the condition orange or condition red. Be afraid, be very, very afraid.
Or be a little afraid. It's always good to be a little afraid.
Because apparently there's a new threat from Yemen. Check it out.
A U.S. official says it's a credible threat tied to al-Qaeda, which has never given up its intent to attack the U.S. again. There is no specific target, but the assessment is al-Qaeda will try to place a shoe bomb on an airplane bound for the U.S. One suspect, al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, headquartered in Yemen. While some in the administration describe the threat as aspirational, a desire to attack, this U.S. official tells CNN the TSA would not have taken the steps to warn the airlines unless the threat was real. The official telling CNN this threat may represent a renewed effort by al-Qaeda. This is not just some flip comment on the part of a bad guy. One big worry, al-Qaeda may have developed some new type of hard-to-detect bomb that can be hidden in shoes. Screening technology couldn't detect the explosives, and the bomb might have little or no metal content. U.S. officials also confirmed there are a small number of American citizens in Yemen with al-Qaeda. With American passports, they could readily re-enter the U.S. Now, fundamentally, U.S. officials are holding their cards very close to their vest about what is really going on here, offering very little detail. But it does come as there's growing concern about Americans overseas fighting with al-Qaeda in places like Yemen, Somalia, Pakistan, and Syria. Wolf?
Barbara Starr, thanks very much.
Hey, did we even tell him who we are?
Oh, well, we're Robert Nisbet.
And we're Darren Howard. Well, actually, I'm Darren Howard. He's Robert Nisbet. Email him. He's got so much time.
Yeah, really.
Really, Robert Nisbet. And we're trying to get Robert on a CIA watch list like we were last year, but it's not working out so well.
Yeah.
We're trying to say bomb more for the NSA so they can be more afraid.
Well, you know, they should get CNN on that watch list because they're talking about shoe bombs and toothpaste bombs and you know, but they're not talking about bombing weddings and turning them into funerals in Yemen. Maybe if they stopped doing that, the bomb makers in Yemen would back off just a little bit.
And we just had a report about CNN being a left-wing puppet of the left-wing conspiracy in the media.
Really?
Yes.
They seem to be the mouthpiece for whatever government policies are going out there, and there's really no difference between the left and right anyway.
So make sure you do your research on that one and be afraid of the ever-popular shoe bomb. We're checking our notes, but...
Oh, well, apparently the U.S. military is having a bit of a financial problem.
Imagine that. Check this out.
The U.S. has a lot of wars, and those wars make a lot of money for a lot of people who make warring their business. Except for those doing the actual fighting, the soldiers, the people our government asks to put their lives on the line, the Americans who might actually die from all of our wars. They're not rolling in dough. No, they are rolling in food stamps. New numbers from the Defense Commissary Agency just revealed that U.S. soldiers spent over $100 million worth of food stamps at military commissaries in 2013. That's more than quadruple the number in 2007. That's a faster growth rate than the general population saw, too. It's not like there's 4 times the use of food stamps everywhere in America. One reason could be that spouses are having a hard time finding jobs. According to a recent study by the Institute for Veterans and Military Families, female military spouses between the ages of 18 to 24 are seeing a 30% unemployment rate. But the main reason is probably because the U.S. pays many of its soldiers peanuts. Low-level soldiers only bring home a little under $20,000 a year. And according to the Military Officers Association of America, the Obama administration's new 2014 budget includes a cap on currently serving troops' pay raises. So our troops are all on food stamps, and many people chalk it up to the horrible economy since the 2008 crash. But come on, we all know war is recession-proof. The U.S. defense budget is in the hundreds of billions of dollars, with billions going straight to defense contractors to build crap we don't even want or need. So for all the war that the U.S. makes, the guys in the suits get rich, while the guys in the camo get food stamps, and the rest of the world gets covered in blood. Forget the food stamps. I've lost my appetite.
So it's sad that $100 million is being spent by U.S. troops on food stamps because of the economic situation in the States.
It's sort of like, when they're subsidizing Walmart, giving them subsidies and making sure that their employees get food stamps so they can go back to Walmart and buy groceries.
Yeah. But there's another war going on that nobody talks about, and that would be the war on drugs. I think drugs are winning.
Yes, drugs have won, and every government that stands up and says we need to continue this war on drugs sounds like Stephen Harper, because they're just continuing to waste money.
But recently, President Obama has decided he wants to reschedule marijuana as a Schedule III drug instead of a Schedule I.
Yeah.
And they're holding congressional hearings on that. Here's a little clip from the Deputy Drug Czar being asked about which is the most dangerous drugs.
What is more dangerous and addictive? Methamphetamines and cocaine or marijuana?
So, I don't think anyone would dispute the fact that there's relative toxicity related to those drugs.
But I'm afraid what's more dangerous and what is more addictive? Cocaine and meth or marijuana? Mm-hmm. Pretty simple.
I think that conversation minimizes the harm.
No, I'm not trying to minimize the harm. I want to know which is more dangerous and addictive.
Again, I go back as as a public health person. One of the things that we look at is not what's the relative risk of one drug.
Okay. Let me just say that I think that your equivocation right there, being unable to answer something clearly and definitively when there is unquestioned evidence to the contrary, is why young people don't believe the propaganda, why they think it's benign. If a professional like you cannot answer clearly that meth is more dangerous than marijuana, which every kid on the street knows, mm-hmm. which every parent knows, mm-hmm. if you can't answer that, maybe that's why we're failing to educate people about the dangers. But if the deputy director of the Office of Drug Policy can't answer that question, how do you expect high school kids to take you seriously?
Oh, we don't expect high school kids to take us seriously, but we're going to keep arresting them if they're black. That's what's going on, because that helps win elections, even if there's a black president. Doesn't matter. We still have to bust black kids for marijuana. back to you.
Sounding a little bit like Rob Ford when talking about whether or not he was smoking crack on video.
Yeah, the deputy drug czar who just endlessly just can't answer a question, like a typical government employee.
Yeah, he just refuses to have the words come out of his mouth because he knows we have the internet. And of course, we're going to repeat those words.
Makes you wonder why people don't trust the government.
Maybe it's because they're getting their uniforms from sweatshops. How's that for a segue?
That's a very good segue.
Was that a good segue?
Yeah,
the
U.S. is a little hypocritical now and then. Check it out.
The New York Times, in another extensive investigation, has revealed that the U.S. government uniforms and other apparel your tax dollars pay for are directly connected to shocking human rights violations, including child labor and union suppression. According to procurement officials and industry experts, federal agencies barely bother to find out what factories make their clothes, much less require audits of them. The agencies exert less oversight of their foreign suppliers than most retailers do. And surprise, surprise, there's actually no law prohibiting the federal government from buying clothes produced overseas under unsafe or abusive conditions. And the American government suppliers are in countries including Bangladesh, the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Mexico, Pakistan, and Vietnam. And they show a pattern of legal violations and harsh working conditions. You have padlocked fire exits, buildings at risk of collapse, falsified wage records, and repeated hand punctures from sewing machines because workers are being pushed to hurry up. So they're literally having sewing needles put through their hand in a law. This isn't one or two people. This is like everybody working there is getting sewing needles through the hand because they have people screaming at them to hurry up.
You know, like why can't we make our uniforms here at home? You know, why
last
can't
I checked, we
make...
have tons of labor.
Yeah, I know that we have a lot of people looking for work right now. Would be nice. Oh.
In Chiang Mai, Thailand, employees at the Georgie and Liu factory, which makes clothes sold by the Smithsonian Institution, said they were illegally docked over 5% of their roughly $10 a day wage for any clothing item that had a mistake. And they also described physical harassment by factory workers. And then this is the one that really got me. They have cameras monitoring them even in the bathrooms.
Lovely, lovely.
It's gross.
You see, I always knew that they get their uniforms from China.
Yeah, and Bangladesh and India and wherever else they're making them because, you know, globalization is king.
Yes, because it's important that a foreign company make profit for Cayman Island profit accounts.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about fear-mongering and fascism here. I am Darren Howard.
And I am Robert Nisbet.
We got a whole nother segment coming up where we're talking about...
We're talking about the homeless and solutions and...
Walmart and, Africa, small things like that.
All kinds of stuff.
Stay tuned. After this lack of commercials, we'll be right back.
I am part of a lost generation and I refuse to believe that I can change the world. I realize this may be a shock, but happiness comes from within is a lie, and money will make me happy. So in 30 years, I will tell my children they are not the most important thing in my life. My employer will know that I have my priorities straight because work is more important than family. I tell you this, once upon a time, families stayed together. But this will not be true in my era. This is a quick fix society. Experts tell me 30 years from now, I will be celebrating the 10th anniversary of my divorce. I do not concede that I will live in a country of my own making. In the future, environmental destruction will be the norm. No longer can it be said that my peers and I care about this earth. It will be evident that my generation is apathetic and lethargic. It is foolish to presume that there is hope. And all of this will come true unless we choose to reverse it. There is hope. It is foolish to presume that my generation is apathetic and lethargic. It will be evident that my peers and I care about this earth. No longer can it be said that environmental destruction will be the norm. In the future, I will live in a country of my own making. I do not concede that 30 years from now, I will be celebrating the 10th anniversary of my divorce. Experts tell me this is a quick fix society, but this will not be true in my era. Families stayed together once upon a time. I tell you this, family is more important than work. I have my priorities straight because my employer will know that they are not the most important thing in my life. So in 30 years, I will tell my children, money will make me happy is a lie, and true happiness comes from within. I realize this may be a shock, but I can change the world. and I refuse to believe that I am part of a lost generation.